If you're going to be using the CSI Linux 2023 VirtualBox appliance, you'll need to install VirtualBox. They just came out with version 7, so you'll need to install the VirtualBox platform packages for Windows host or whatever your operating system is. And then you also need to install the VirtualBox Oracle VM VirtualBox extension pack. You need both of those. So I've already installed mine. So again, this is going to be version 7. Open the screen. As you can see, it's a little bit different when it comes to the view here. Nice little icon. So we're going to go ahead and import CSI Linux 2023, the OVA package. So I'm going to go to import. I'm going to find the folder which it's currently loaded in. When you double click on it, you should see the OVA right in the file list. Go and hit next. This stuff you can change if you want to, but we don't really need to. Here, I'm going to install it to an external drive, to G drive, for demo purposes. Going to import the hard drive as a VDI. Biggest reason I do that is if I'm only going to be using VirtualBox, this does allow me to use the VBox Manage, modify medium, and compact the VDI when I need to. So if it grows, I get rid of content, I can wipe the drive, or the free space at least, and then compact it to make it a smaller file, or a smaller VDI. So once you hit finish, that's when this section here is going to start telling you it's importing the application. So this is going to take a while. So at this point, we're going to pause. And we're back. So once it's finished installing, you should see it at the top left, CSI Linux 2023. So a quick tip, if you do want to add content, for example, external USB hard drive, it's usually a little bit easier and more consistent if you go into the settings and go down to USB and then add your hard drive from here. So that means anytime that you plug in the hard drive after this, when you're in CSI Linux, it should automatically be seen and put into the environment. If not, you can go up to the toolbar and then add the USB and then pick on the device. Every once in a while that may not work. This is the resolution for that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here. Then we get to see a bunch of different drives we can choose from, or devices as well. So go ahead and hit cancel. Let's go ahead and start. Because this is set up on an external drive, this is just a basic external HDDs or platter hard disk. It will be a little bit slower because it's going to USB. The USB is going to be the bottleneck, and then of course the drive secondary. If you did want a little bit faster, you could go, for example, like USB-C to the solid state. That's going to speed things up quite a bit. And it is in a different screen, so let's go ahead and pull this up real quick. So now it's booting up. Let's go into the base. Once it's done with this, we should see the login screen. Just like before, username is CSI and the password is CSI. So if you do see that failed rotate log files, that's fine, especially for the first boot. It's set for cleanup. Okay, so at this screen, I know sometimes depending on, especially if it's the first boot, it might take a little bit longer than normal, but you can just wait. If you do wait, it is running stuff in the background or loading content. You should get the login screen. If you do put in username and password, you'll get to the command prompt, but it's still probably going to post this up within a few seconds or so. So it's usually just better to wait. So I'm going to hit CSI, hit enter. Should bring us right into the system once it's done loading the profile. And you'll see a little bit different. We did change the background. It's going to be a red CSI Linux background. So this system is a little bit bigger. So the OVA is about twice the size for the download. The reason why we did this was because we wanted to pre-install the vast majority of the tools. In CSI Linux 2022.1.1, a lot of the tools are the bigger tools. They were not pre-installed, but they had installer scripts. So whenever you clicked on the icon, it would check to see if it was installed. If it wasn't, it would then go through the process of downloading or updating, downloading, and then installing. So the next time you clicked on the icon, it would just run the application. But again, with this one, we decided to pre-install the vast majority of the content. One of the tools we didn't pre-install was Anbox. The biggest reason is it does clutter up the screen a little bit if you're not going to use it, but this is going to be the Android in a box or the Android emulator. So move this over just a touch. Go ahead and click on the Linux icon at the top left, and you'll see it has pretty much the same content as it did before. However, on the bottom side, scroll down a little bit further, some of the additional tools we did add, we did try to make this alphabetical so it's a little bit easier. We do have Bluetooth adapters. One of the older updates right after 2022.1.1 came out, the Bluetooth adapter had some issues. So basically we blasted it out, put it back in. Should work just fine. So again, it does have a lot more content on this side. We also have in development, we have EDB, we have under graphics. We did put some of the Stega tools in here. We do have a QR code generator because this could be useful for certain types of applications. And then within multimedia, it does have, this is going to be FFmpeg GUI interface, but we did put that into the computer forensics side as well. We did put Handbrake in, especially if you need to convert video, but this can give you a lot of good capability too. Under Office, we have the ebook readers, ebook viewer, we have Calibre, and then we also have Cherry Tree. That's still in the system. This one is actually pretty good at graphics. Basically allows you to do your own diagrams. And of course under System, Conky, we did change just a touch. So before it had time in orange, we tried to make it where it's more themed. So this is the actual engine. However, if you click on this right here, this is going to give you the good old classic Conky setting. I do apologize, one over. So this would be the CSI monitor. And now we have that display. We did change this to red. We also changed the time to UTC as opposed to local time. So this will be UTC standard. And then of course up here is where you can change your actual time zone. So if you right click on it, left click on properties, you can then choose whatever the time zone is where you're at. We'll close out of here. We did clean the bottom up a little bit. So you do not see the social media, the dark web. That's already in case management. So we tried to make it to where, again, it's more straightforward, a little bit more simple. So you would get to it through either start a case. If you did not want to go through that route, you could make this a little bit smaller again. Go back into CSI Tools and then go through the applications through here. So if you're running CSI Linux 2022.1.1 and you did not want to do the full upgrade to 2023, which is an option by doing power up, you could keep it back to the old version if you needed to by going under System Management, CSI Linux Management, and then just updating the CSI tools. And then you can do an apt-get upgrade, apt-get update combination to make sure the system's updated as well. But this keeps the size down if size is an issue. But going back to this does run a little bit cleaner, primarily because the content's pre-installed. But other than that, that's just running CSI Linux 2023 pretty much in a nutshell, going through VirtualBox. Relatively straightforward and pretty much the same as VirtualBox 6. 7 just has a little bit more graphics. But outside that, if you have any issues, have any questions, challenges, things in that area, definitely feel free to reach out to support@csilinux.com.